Alright, in this video, I'm going to walk through exactly how I generate more leads using Clay.com's AI feature. In this video, I will walk through the exact AI prompts I use to personalize the copy, how I structure the campaigns for maximum results, and also some of the results I have gotten after running these campaigns. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Alright, before I get into the actual campaign strategy and copy, it is worth mentioning what this client actually does. So they're basically a video production house. They help big brands in the Middle East with creating video content they can put on YouTube and Shahid and all those things. Now, we went with this idea that companies feel FOMO if their competitors are doing something new and they're not. So if they see, for example, that if your competitor is doing something that you're not doing and that is giving them a competitive advantage, you want to at least get to that level where you have that competitive advantage so you can, match the benefits they're getting, right? So basically, we went with this idea hi John, reaching out because your competitor launched a video ad campaign with us using the power of CGI plus live action. Their audience were more likely to remember an ad that mixed real life elements with made up worlds. We can help you create stunning video content commercials you can put on YouTube and Shahid. So when people think of industry type, you become top of mind. I can put together 2 to 3 campaign ideas for you that historically worked well for our clients. Can I send them over? And then we're mentioning the actual case studies over here. Now, in terms of what the AI work is, what are we doing in Clay? We're actually figuring out how do we categorize the companies based on specific industries? Because the work of actually figuring out what is the competitor of this specific prospect, there's work behind that. So we have to actually figure that out. So we need to figure out what are the specific industries, and I'll tell you why later. How do you actually mention a specific prospect's competitor in cold email without sounding vague? So we want it so that if I'm reaching out to a big dairy brand or a big food and beverage brand, we want to mention the exact competitor as close as possible. And how do you use AI to write an icebreaker based on the prospect's LinkedIn? Alright, the first thing I did is use Clayagent's feature to actually figure out what the company's description is, what is their website description. So I basically tell it to go to the website and give me an exhaustive summary of what the company does in as many paragraphs as possible. I'm using Foro Mini here and I'm using web research and it's doing just fine. It then gives me a company description, and the reason why I need this is because I need to figure out what is the sub-industry. Because I can have, for example, the industry of food and beverage, but what is the sub-industry beneath that? Is it confectionery and snacks? Is it dairy? Is it poultry? Is it meat? So I basically want to tell me the exact sub-industry under the industry, because once I figure that out, then I can make the campaigns even more relevant, which I will get into. So this is where I'm actually doing it here. I'm doing the food subcategory. I basically tell it, check if the following company falls under which subcategory. Here is your input. Dairy and beverages, poultry and meat, cooking oils and staples, confectionery and snacks. Output the subcategory, nothing else. Don't output the quotation marks, don't output numbers, just the name of the subcategory. So I can get specific with the industries, which then I can mention the actual competitor. Because if I mention a brand that is under dairy and beverages, it's not going to be relevant to poultry and meat, right? So we have to be specific over here. So once I do that, I also have another AI which tells me the industry category. So basically, I tell it to look through the company's description and categorize it according to what is most relevant according to the following categories. So I basically created my own list of industries that is not available on Apollo and all of those things, because I'm trying to get granular here. I'm trying to get specific and granular. So I basically tell to categorize it according to these industries. What Apollo will do, Apollo will not have these dairy and beverages. They will just have food and beverage, right? So then I'm adding these because I want it to be more specific. So I'm telling it, use this as your bed. This is your industry filter you can use, and then output the industry name and nothing else, right? So once it does that, I do have a condition as well. I did not mention that, apologies. I do have a condition that over here that this has to be, so industry 3 is empty. Industry 3 is basically the Apollo, right? I already have industry filters filled in from Apollo already. It already says telecommunication, it already says banking. I don't want it to run the AI again to tell me if it's banking. I already have that from Apollo, right? So basically, I'm just trying to check if industry 3 is empty, which it is. Okay. So now I have a final field over here, which basically pulls in the industry 3, which is from Apollo, and then Also pulling in the industry category I ran from the AI, and then it's basically giving me all of this stuff over here. That is like my industry final, right? Now I have my final industries. I'm not going to do any more work to figure out what the industry actually is. It's all over here and categorized specifically. Now, what I want to do, which is the next point, is figure out what is the actual competitor of this prospect. And I'm not even using AI for this. I'm just using the formula feature. So it's very complex, but basically I'm telling it check if industry final equals any of the below categories. Then map it to the company names. If multiple company names are listed, choose one at random. If no match, leave blank. So basically I'm telling it check the industry final. If it equals telecommunications, then mention these competitors. If it equals retail, mention this competitor. This is how we actually find out the competitors. And it can only do that if it knows what is the industry of that company. So if it's automotive, it will mention Porsche. If it's apparel and fashion, it's Puma. So now this is how we're able to make campaigns more relevant and boost our response rates, right? So once we mention the competitor, we can actually go ahead and figure out the industry type using AI. So to recap, like what we're trying to do here, we just found out what the competitor is. Now we want to figure out what the industry type is. To do that, we're going to use the power of AI, and we're basically going to tell it to insert a classification as to what the company actually does. So a classification is a group category or industry almost when someone thinks of a company. So for example, Talabat.com is a food delivery app. So you would output food delivery without the quotation. You're supposed to do this for company and for emails. Here's the industry and here is their company description. So this is the prompt. I'm not going to go through all of this, but basically I want it so that it tells me like what this company actually does. So like I'll give you some examples here. The whole sentence, the whole idea, I just want to so that the sentence says, so when people think telecommunication services, you become top of mind. Or when you think luxury in hotels, you become top of mind. Or when you think education services, you become top of mind. And then here I'm mentioning, I can put together 2 to 3 campaign ideas for you that historically worked well for our clients. Mind if I send them over, right? So I'm basically using this AI to figure out like, what is it that people would be thinking about in terms of your brand? So this will help in terms of like making the copy more persuasive. So once I do that, now I actually have all what I need in terms of like company level personalizations. Now I can get into people level personalizations and figure out what the job title is, or like the department they work in. Because over here, I want to figure out what the department is, because I do want to run another copy where I'm mentioning like, hey, John, as someone in marketing or someone in branding, you're probably looking to make your brand stand out from your competitors or something, right? So over here, this is what we're using AI feature. So basically, I will go here and say, based on the person's job title and department, output the most relevant department bucket as one word or a short phrase. Here is your input. If the title includes any of these terms, output marketing. If it includes communications, output communications. You can copy this prompt, but basically, I'm just trying to figure out like, if it's mentioning PR or any of these things, output communications. And then it gives me like these subcategories I can use when I'm reaching out to prospects. Basically, I also was able to figure out other things like personalization. First lines like, not sure, but you might be the type of person who would be open to new ideas, given your experience in both agency and client-side marketing, leading performance initiatives that drove revenue growth. So basically, I have an AI which is able to figure out what the LinkedIn, like what their LinkedIn is actually saying. And then I'm telling the AI to figure out, like, give me one reason why someone would be an open-minded person. Like, why would this person specifically be open-minded? Figure out a reason based on like what the LinkedIn is telling you. So when I do that, it's actually able to make it authentic because it's pulling in like actual insights, or it's pulling in like actual data from their LinkedIn profile. Like, hey, notice, I figured that you might be someone who's open to new ideas because you were an account manager and you also worked in multiple agencies. So we're trying to make it like authentic based on the prospect. And then in terms of like how I'm doing it, I'm basically saying, I have this text which tells me how a person is open-minded. I want you to create a first line personalization that summarizes the text in 10 to 15 words max. Start your sentence with not sure, but you might be the type of person who would be open to new ideas. Yeah, basically I'm telling you, like, don't be a people pleaser and don't over compliment. Like, you need to teach it the balance, right? So here's the AI where you can use that to figure to actually go about that. All right, to walk you through some of the results we've gotten from this campaign, we've sent around 2,000 emails. We generated 8 leads. So basically, in terms of contacts, so 2,258, we generated 8 leads. So basically, we're generating a lead for every 200, 300 emails. Or 282, you can say 280 contacts, right? That is pretty good. If I'm getting 1 for every 500, that's considered good. This is above benchmark. Now, whether or not this strategy works for you depends a lot on whether or not your offer works for cold email. Now, there are some offers that naturally work better for cold email and some offers that naturally don't work as well for cold email. I actually created a video, which you can see in front of you right now, that helps you figure out whether your offer is optimized for cold traffic. To check out the video, just click what you see in front of you and then it will take you to the video. But apart from that, I hope this video is valuable and have a great day.